Thank you so much and good evening to all of you. And we thank you for being part of this program. That is Beulah Multimedia GH in the Upper East Region, Zibla, Boku West District. In fact, try to subscribe and like it for us. It is very, very important. And I think today you can see me holding a nice book. And then this book is talking about Boku conflict. The book is talking about Boku conflict. A lot of issues are in this book, and we are supposed to read them to the hearing of the public. In fact, there are so many things in this book in which we need to understand each other. So without wasting my time, I will read some of the pages here, and then we'll understand what is there. The book is actually telling us about the committee. The committee. So you can hear from me reading the book. Okay, so this is how it goes. They said, report of the committee appointed by His Excellency, the Acting Governor General, to inquiries into and report its funding on the claim of Aborigo Azaka to have been elected or appointed and installed as a chief of the Kusak area. Wow, so that is so far the heading. So now let's go inside the book. Okay, so as I read it to you, now this is how the introduction goes. One, the introduction. Kusase is the name. Kusase is the name applied to the north east corner of Ghana and covered a slot to the northeast of the Mampuku state. Both red and white volta flow through the district and makes it perhaps the most fertile district in that part of the country. Full stop. The population is mildly Kusase, but there are also Mampusis, Mosi, Bisanges, Frafres, and a few houses who live there permanently. However, the population of all other tribes put together does not come anywhere near the Kusases' future. According to the 1951 census, there are over 147,000 Kusases in the district. The largest and most important town in the area is Boku, which is also the administrative center. The Kusase area is divided into two by white volta. The eastern half is called Agole and the western half is known as Tonde. Boku is situated on the north of the Agole district on the trade route between Gambaga into bracket Mampusi and Wagadugu, Tinkudugu into bracket Mosi in the north. It is the chieftaincy in Boku that forms the subjected matter of this inquiry. Now that page has ended, so we are going to the history of the case. About 150 years ago, when the slave trade were still flourishing in the north, Na Atabia, the Nairi of Mampugu, who lived in the Nalerego, his capital, set his son Prince Ali to establish a post at Boku and guide the trade route between Nalerego and Gambaga in the south and Tinkudugu and Wagadugu in the north. This was because the Kusasi who inhabited that area found themselves into band of robbery and bungling way line and robbing Mampusi trade going to the north with their waves or returning to the south with their slaves. Full stop. The Kusasis were then very backward and primitive as comparing with the Mampusi. the tribe was not sufficiently organized under a proper chief who commanded any sort of respect and dignity among the tribe men. No doubt they had their tribal headmen and fetish priests who performed functions of chiefs. From the time when Prince Ali established what may be called a police post at the Boku skin came directly under the Nairi of Mamprusi and running there until today. All the Boku Nabas into bracket chiefs has been since being the prince or descendant of the prince from Naleregu. Ali was followed by Nugzambi, Mampaga, Mahama into bracket, otherwise known as Sitin. Then came Boku, who was followed by Mamboda, Mahama II, Zamberu Abuguri, and Awuni respectively. After the death of Awuni, the Boku Naba, no less than 6 Mampruse's prince from Boku contested the skin. They all went to the Nairi of the Nalerego to appoint the Boku Naba, but only one succeeded in being so appointed. He was an old man, half blind, known as Yirmia. His appointment took place at Nalerego on the 6th day of June 1957 in the face of strong opposition from the other princes. That oppositions never ended at Nalerego. For some of these prince petitions, the Minister of Local Government against the appointment of the unpopular Prince Yirmia. You see, I want you to listen to the reading very well so that you can be able to judge for yourself, my listeners. Meanwhile, on the next morning, matters came to head at Boku in the north. The Kusasi had gathered in full strong at Boku from Agole and Tone district and has elected Aborigo Azaka as the Boku Naba and the head of the Kusasis. It became approached now that the struggle for chieftaincy in Boku was not confined to the Mamprusi prince alone. It was now a tribal affair between Mamprusi and Kusasis. It appears therefore that the Mamprusi wisely buried their own grievances until and united together under Yirmia to fight the Kusasis. Series of petitions and representation reaches the government on the matter. Critical situation has arisen, which could earlier lead to the tribal war. To attempt to give a decision without a careful investigation into the matter would have led to very serious consequences. This committee was therefore appointed by His Excellency the Acting Governor General to inquire into it and report its funding. My dear listeners, the book is many, and I would like us to read all and then understand some things. Now we move to the summary of case. Aborigo Azaka, otherwise known as Aborigo Kusasi, stated in the evidence that the life in Boku and the life in Boku he lives in Boku and owns land in Boku. He is a fetish priest and a Tindana. A Tindana means landowner and the worshipper of the local fetish. He trained in evidence later detected the 18th March 1954 and addressed to him by Mr. Lan F. Billing, the then governor, against the then governor agent station at Boku. His document is declared or all whom it may concern to the effect that Aborigo is the Tindana or a landowner of the area of Boku. Now, funding the government area and empowering him to gather the fruit from the Dawadawa tree in the area. Aborigo claims that his grandfather Amalzo Zilbi Amalzo Zimbio was a Tindana, farm and chief of Boku. Therefore, the European advent and the seize of the Boku skin by the Mampuses. The Mampuses came alone with the white man and were able to establish themselves on the Kusasis land because of the influence and power of the white men. The Mampuses had in contact with the white men and were failure with him were the cooks and servants of the white men, as well as his interpreter and policeman. The Mampuses were more elegant and appealed more to the white men than the average Kusasis man. Well, listeners, you can see how I'm reading the something. That means almost some of the writing is like it is fading. So you can see how we are struggling because the paper or the booklet is not today. Because we are struggling to find out or to fish out the things that is happening or escalating. Truth is something that we need to reveal. Truth is something that we need to reveal. So at the end of the day, we'll show you where we pick this document from, and so that you can be able to go there and find out if you can find some to fetch and also read for yourself. We want the whole world to understand that the judgment or the fight that they are fighting, although I have not yet finished reading the book, but by the time I finish, you should know that whether the Kusasa have the right or the Mampuses have the right. Now, to continue at where I stopped, the Kusasis were then not all organized and could not resist the peaceful innovation of the Mamprusi supported by the white man. Though the skin of the Boku was seized from his grandfather and given to the elegant Mamprusi, he stated among the things that his grandfather owned the land at Boku and that they were succeeded by his father Azaka. The Mampusi own no land in the Boku area and cannot be chiefed. According to Kusasi custom, only Tindanas can be chiefed, and the Kusasis won't never elect anyone who is not a Tindana by custom to be a chief. The Mampusis are not Tindanas and cannot by custom be recognized as chiefs. Okay. Himesen, Amalzo, Zimbio, Aguadan, Aguadan, and Abadu are some of the Kusases chiefs who ruled Boku before Mamprisi came, and says that it was Abadu time that the Mamprisi seized the skin. It is not easy, Charlie, but to face the fact, we'll read. Aborigo gave evidence of his election and installation as a chief Naba and the head chief of Kusase area. He claims to be the district descendant of the former rule of Boku before the innovation by Mamprises. He claims that by custom, the Ponton chief are appointed by Boku Naba in consultation with the elders and councillors of the particular canton at the particular canton, and that he, as a Boku Naba, has recently appointed some canton chief according to custom. Okay. There was evidence to show that Aborigo is supported overwhelmingly by the Kusasis. It will be noted that these canton chiefs are created in the place of existing canton chiefs who refuse to support the case of the Kusasis, either because they were Mamprises or because they fear the possible displeasure of the Nairi. In fact, all chiefs not elected by the Kusasis. Okay, so in fact, not all chiefs elected by the Kusasis, but appointed by the Mamprises to rule the Kusasis are disliked by the Kusasis. At the present date, unexpected, they change their mind and fellow Kusasis in their claim their petition will never remain delicate. Aborigo stated in a cross-examination that the British imposed the Mamprises rule on the Kusasis. This is a statement which may be true to some extent, and more will be said about it at the later stage in this report. He stated that this is not true, that the Kusase Naba and other chiefs of Kusase areas are appointed by the Nairi to rule the Kusasis. On the other hand, he stated that those chiefs are elected by their own peoples, but after their installation, they had to go to the Nairi to perform a certain religious rite, which they believe won't increase their power as a rule over their peoples and serve as a blessing to them in their tenure of office as chief. Aborigo further stated that after the year 1932, upon the suggestion of the central governor, it was agreed by all the canton chiefs of the Kusak area that Boku Naba be recognized as the head of the whole area, even though they were all equal in rank until then, though the Boku Naba became premium interprint as from that year. He said that the arrangement was for the administrative He said that the arrangement was for the administrative only, as it was considered to be conducive to good government, to conduct affairs from one central and Boku is in a central position or position. In fact, Boku has until then been used as an administrative central with a success. The claimant contended that there is a great difference in the method of selection of chiefs by Kusasis and Mampruse respectively. Okay, so Charlie, I think viewers, you can see how it is. Okay, so let me continue from here. So he said, according to according to him, the Kusasis use free vote and the Mampruses complacent in the election of their chief. The Kusasis elect whilst the Mampruses appoint their chief. Aborigo continues under cross-examination to draw a distinction between the various customs of the Kusasis from those of the Mampruses. According to him, the Kusasis pay 5 to 4 cows and other things for their wife, whilst the Mampruses give no more than 100 kola nut and 12 sheep for their wives. Okay, so the witness says that the Kusasis have never been conquered by the Mampruses, but the Mampruses treat them. As slaves. Okay, so the Mampruses were treating the Kusasis as slaves. Oh, okay. So the Kusasis pay toll or pay is it tolls or tools? Okay. And tribute to the Mampruses. The Kusasis are forced to work on the farm of the Mampruses for remuneration. Okay, so the Mampruses steal the Kusasis' wife or steal the wife of the Kusasis, and husbands are made to pay heavily to retrieve their stolen wives. Okay, so the Mampruses used to steal the Kusasis' wife, while the Kusasis have to pay heavy money to retrieve their wife back. Okay, so he concluded by saying that the Kusasis have lost all confidence in the Mampruses' rules and will never acknowledge them as such. The Mampruses rule in Kusasis for the last 150 years has brought no benefit to the Kusasis. On the other hand, they have suffering trembling under the oppression of the Mampruses. He pleaded that government should authorize complete sanction from the Nairi and the Mamprusi state. Aborigo called 6 witnesses in support of his case and submitted 19 pieces of memoranda from various divisions and organizations in the Kusauk area. The petition came from 16 canton chiefs of Kusasis area and Tengdanes, that is land owners, and ex-servicemen union in the various divisions of Kusasis. Some of the petition came from individuals in various professions and calls, school teachers and permanent farmers, cattle owners also contributed their quote to the book petition brought to the committee. The various districts and towns from which these petitions came from areas are: number 1, Tili; 2, Sapelega; 3, Pusiga; 4, Okay, 4. Bogonre. 5. Zibila. 6. Kuguri. 7. Wirikambo. 8. Patiga. 9. Binduri. 10. Boku. 11. Kuka. 12. Benaba. 13. Zambiri. 14. Geru. 15. Tonde. 16. Kolugungu. 17. Sinibaga. 18. Timpani and Tishi. The Kusasi youth movement also submitted a memorandum as well as Kusasi veteran of two world wars, chief of Wheat, Tanga, Kusa, and Gangwiri, also submitted petition. The content of all petitions submitted by the summary up as says: 1. That the Mampruses under the mighty wings of the white men seize their chieftaincy over centuries and have go. 2. That their rules have been making by corrective and operation. 3. That the Kusases has been regarded as slaves and peoples not fit to be leaders and chief of their own peoples. 4. That the Kusases believe in free election of their chief, while the Mampruses believe in the appointment of chief to rule Kusases as military governor do. 5. The Abogodago, direct descendant of the occupants of the Boku skin before the censoring by the Mamprusi, and therefore rightful theirs. 6. That Abogodago has been customarily elected by Kusasi and skinned according to Kusasi custom. 7. That they support the installation of Aborigo Azaka as the chief of Kusasis and the head of Kusasi area with his capital at Boku. This so far is the evidence given by the claimant and his supporters. Case of the oppose. Okay, so Mahama Yirmia, an old man about 85 years of age, claimed to be Boku Naba and head chief of Kusasi area. He says that before his appointment by the Nairi as chief as the Boku Naba, he was a farmer and councillor. He was the chairman of the Agole Local Council and the chairman of the Finance Staff Committee of the Mamprusi District Council. He also held the post of Yorgo Naba. He stated that on the death of Na Awuni, the late Boku Naba, he went together with other Boku prince before Nairi at Naleregu as a candidate contesting for the skin at Boku. These contestants carried with them such articles as basket containing a cap and ropes, pins of sandals and spears, knife and axe, well as lighter. These are an article needed for the officials. This needed for the installation of the Boku Naba by the Nairi. He stated that according to the custom, as soon as the Boku Naba died, the contesting prince sent sent to inform the Nairi individual that the wish to inherit their father's skin, but that the final words rests with the Nairi, who, on the advice of his counselor in the Naleregu, appoint one of them to be Boku Naba. The old man described the custom produced at the official appointment and the installation ceremony, and says that he was also regularly appointed by the Nairi as the Boku Naba. He described the line of sanction from the very first Boku Naba into Blackhead Mamprusi in the person of Na Ali to the last Boku Naba, who was the late Na Awuni. He says he saw Na Mamboda, and that it was during his time that the white men came. He knew Aborigo Azaka for 7 years, and both of them had previously been good friends, convincing and drinking together. He knew Aborigo father, who was fetish teller, and lived all his life in his house behind the courthouse at Boku. He also know Akanzogo. You also know Akanzogo, the grandfather of Aborigo. Akanzogo lives behind the doctor's bungalow at Boku. None of Aborigo ancestors was ever known as a chief, nor Kusasa's man have ever been a chief. Now, where I'm reading right now is where the Mamprusis claim they are the ownership of Boku. Aborigo have the Kusasas have explained theirs finished, and here is where the Mamprusi is also describing how they became the owner of Boku. There is no such person as a Tindana who owns the land. He is a worshipper of the fetish and has nothing to do with the land. The post at Boku was established to safeguard the trade route between Mamprusi and Musi. That was the only reason for creating the Boku scheme. There are no highwaymen today. In the area, highway robbery stopped long ago, although such conditions do not exist now. The witness says he was still looking after the Kusasas, houses, Moses, and other tribes in the area. The Kusasas are in the habit of kidnapping each other's wives and running away with them to the south. I used to write letters to various chiefs in the south on this matter. The main purpose of my rules here now is to prevent the Kusasas from poaching upon each other property. In Mamprusi, the Nairi seen to it that all Mamprusi respect each other right, and I do the same thing here. Mahama Yirmia stated that in the olden days, the Kusasas have no chief, and therefore the Nairi appointed his son to look after them. The area is mainly populated by the Kusasas, except that Mamprusis are also here as chief and prince. So here, the Mamprusi have accepted that the Kusasas were there, and they were there as hand robbers. Number two, they were there as, although they were populated more than them, So as I'm reading, you have to be listening to the points very well so that at the end of the day, you know what we are talking about here. The witness continued to say that he did not think that Kusase man should rule the Kusases. That is how the witnesses think. He thinks that the Kusase man cannot rule the Kusases. Okay. So the Kusases did not start life with chieftaincy. Okay. They believe in the production of food, planting and eating. Most of the Kusase chiefs were appointed by Nairi. The canton chief of Kusase were appointed and installed by the Boku Naba. The Kusases are not fit to rule as chiefs. They are in the habit of seizing the wife of their own tribe men. They are often brought before the Boku Naba. On the appointment of Naba Ali, Na Ali, by the Nairi, he was told to go and guide the trade route, but now we are told to go and tame the land and live by it. So now listening to the question here, or listening to the issue here, he said according to Na Ali, he was sent to prevent the robbers, that is the Kusase, in order not to rob. But right now, they are sent to taint the land. That is the petition. Good. As we continue, the witnesses says that the word Naba is a Mampusi word. The word Naba is a Mampusi word, which is also used by the Musi. Although every tribe has its own chief, the Kusases have a Mampusi chief in the person of Boku Naba. This stated with the reign of Na Ali. He said further that the land in Kusases belong to the Nairi. The Kusases are only caretakers to the Nairi. The witness stated that the crowd which witnessed his appointment and installed as Naleregu, consisting of Mampusi, Mosi, Hausa, but after the installation, he proceeded to rule the Kusases. His installation was completed without the sanction, wall, or attendant of any Kusases. He said, among their things, that he has achieved his aim. Okay, so that means his aim was to achieve the chieftaincy, and he has been able to achieve it. Okay, and now, he has achieved his aim, and was no longer interested in any Kusase matter again. So once he have achieved the aim, he's no more interested in Kusase's matter again. He has been appointed the chief of the Kusases by the Nairi, and he did not care what the Kusases says or thinks about. If the Nairi thinks he was good to be a chief, no one can change, or no one. Okay, if the Nairi thinks he's qualified or good to be a chief, then no one can challenge that fact. Okay. His prediction has obeyed the Nairi, and it was his turn to obey the Nairi. Only the member of his family can rule as chief in Boku. Aborigo father was only a caretaker of the Dawadawa tree for the Nairi. He collected the fruit, but the land belonged to the Nairi. It was Na Yakubu who gave him charge over the trees. If Nairi wished to eject him from the land, he could do so. Nayiri owns all the land in Kusak area up to the French border. He owned the land in the Frafra, Bimoba, and part of Konkomba, as well as Bulsa, Kasina, and other areas to the north. Nayiri can do whatever he likes with his land. Witness says that he knew that Mamprusi liked him, but he did not know whether he was popular with the Kusases. He did not know that some of his colleagues Mamprusis, Mamprusi Prince in Boku opposed his appointment and was not aware of the fact that they claimed to have appointed a rival candidate in the person of Dankambori. He's a nephew. So he says that he never knew that he became a rival for his colleague Mamprusis. He only thought he was fighting with Kusasis to refute Kusasis chief, but he never thinks that the Mamprusis too were fighting with him. Now let's continue here. So he says, I think the audio is making long, so let me pause it here and also take another part. So this is part 1, and let's quickly move to the part 2. So the part 2 will summarize everything there and will tell you how the judgment did at the court, who were supposed to own the land. So please try to subscribe and also share and like it for us. This is Builder Multimedia GH. Thank you so much for watching.